So I'm starting recording. All right, so welcome to our first webinar. My name is Lizette Zuno, and I'm the CEO and founder for Discourse Solution, Inc. And I'm super excited to share with you a webinar on the impact of artificial intelligence on QA, right? I'm gonna put this folks here so I can be able to add these folks easily as they join without also disturbing my presentation. All right, so today's agenda, like I was mentioning earlier, for those of you that joined, this is going to be a super interactive presentation. I will be happy to see your question. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments chat section here, and I'll be glancing in the chat session as I'm going. But it's an hour, but the whole presentation is not going to take an hour, so we'll have plenty of time to have discussion and conversation afterward, you know, because there's a lot to cover here, but I'm gonna hit the super important part. So how do we leverage AI tool in QA automation strategy? Then I'm gonna talk about the learning curve and the mindset shift that is necessary for your QA team. And then I'll discuss, you know, some key benefits that AI-based QA automation systems do provide. And then we'll dive into like a case study that I have experienced. And I actually have a couple of case studies, but I'm going to do one, and then we have time, we can do another one. Or if you guys have questions about other case studies that I'm aware of, we can also talk about those. And then we'll talk about how you can leverage AI-based tool in your CICD environment. And we'll conclude with discussing the return on investment for your team. All right. So today's lesson, I want to set the stage and start talking about, you know, where have we been the past 10 years in terms of like most QA automation tool. They've been providing QA engineer opportunity to create test automation, but we still kind of lack in some area efficiency, execution, and reusability of test case and fast updates. So manual testing usually take a long time whenever there's a break in the system occur. So there's still a lot of room of improvement for QA automation to enable fast error detection. So now let's talk about what is AI. You know, let's get into some concepts and definitions. So artificial intelligence, I have been a super evangelist of artificial intelligence since graduate school, you know, and I've always been following very religiously, literally, like what is the impact of artificial intelligence in different areas of our life, in different industries. So I was super excited when I started hearing how AI can now be leveraged, you know, into software automation. So AI has been very crucial, you know, in IT technology, and it's just in the last few years that software automation has been experimenting with AI and machine learning. So machine learning, in essence, is just a pattern recognition technology. It uses patterns to identify by the machine learning algorithm to predict future trends. So the key word here is really pattern recognition and prediction of future trends. So that's going to be really important in how we can leverage this machine learning in software testing and software automation. All right, so how do we leverage AI in QA automation strategy? So for me, this is like the first part, because very often I hear organization or team that want to get into automation and they want to start using whatever tools, and what they're really missing is really a lack of strategy. So you got to determine from the onset what is the automation strategy that is appropriate for the organization. And I actually this year wrote 3 blog posts that you can go back to my blog, you know, Discourse Solution Inc.com/blog about QA automation strategy. And I literally broke it into 3 blog posts because automation strategy is it's very crucial to starting an automation journey in your organization. So it's important to determine the tool technology you're going to use for your automation implementation. So you got to go out there and try to define, what are the systems that I need to be successful in this automation journey that I'm about to embark on. And another thing you have to do is you have to go and figure out what are the benefits of AI-based tools that are out there, and how those, because there's so many features, there's so many benefits for AI-based tools. You have to look for like the one that's really gonna align with your goal and your strategy that you actually define for your team. So determine the benefits, and we're gonna dive into the specific benefits of AI-based tool in the next couple of slides. But there's so many benefits, you create more reliable automated test case, improve test creation, spot duplicate error and new error in your code. So you have to determine out of these benefits, which one is even really important for me as an organization or as a team that I can leverage, in my automation strategy. All right. And then this is a part that I'm really excited about. It's really because some of you might have joined this webinar for two reasons. With AI, people are always in two camps. There's the people that are really skeptical of AI because they feel like AI have not been really deliver everything that it has been promising, and the folks that are also super excited like me about AI, and they're always trying to see how can I leverage AI, right? But so when you have that and you are trying to introduce an AI-based tool to your organization, you really have to embrace, your team has to embrace a shift-left testing approach. And you also have to explain to your team, very clearly, what is your vision? Why are you even trying to go out there and look for an automation tool? Because folks can be wondering, like, are you trying to get rid of us? Does that mean because you have just one or two manual tester and you want to get into automation, now you want to get rid of your manual tester and use a tool to replace them? People have all those kind of feelings. So you have to make sure you assure your team of your automation vision. And one of your vision can be literally, I'm trying to ensure that those of you that are here, equip you with a tool that will make you do a better job. Equip you with some tools and system that will allow you to actually do your job to the best of your ability as a QA engineer that you are. So that assurance providing to your tool is really important because we help them to embrace also the vision that you have around, AI testing. So that's also important, Another thing, this part, because this is how I always see any strategy or even delivery or software, it's always about it's always about actually process, people, process, and product, So it goes from that. So you got to think about your people, How are they accepting this new vision that you have, about automating? How are they accepting about this new tool that you're going to have? And the last thing is you got to provide them necessary training. And everybody in your team will not be at the same level of training. So you as the leader, you have to really go meet them where they are as far as like the level of understanding of a new tool or even accepting of using a new AI-based tool. So training is super important, and because there's nothing like finding a tool that does all this great thing, all this bell and whistle with the tool, but you are not training your folks. So equip your QA team with necessary training is also super important. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, and I will be having a Q&A at the end for those of you that join. All right, so benefit of AI-based tool. I make sure that there's so many benefits, but these are the three that I really want to highlight in this webinar because I think they provide a lot of value already from off the gate to really help you with your QA automation. So visual testing, aka also visual validation, is really about verifying the visual aspect of the application. where it seems appropriate to the end user. So it's really mimicking the end user experience. And there are so many things that you can miss as a manual tester that a visual validation tool will definitely help you. So visual bugs are usually rendering issue. Because of the accuracy of AI-powered automation testing tools that can deploy in more than just functional and visual testing. So AI-powered visual testing tools are crucial in validating any application that require constant change in format. So when you find yourself with an application where you're doing a lot of visual things that you need to test, this is a perfect match as a tool for you, because anything change, you run your test automatically, and we get all those rendering or visual issue that most of our eyes will not catch quickly. Test API is also another place where AI can be leveraged, because enable API testing to provide a leap forward in productivity and efficiency. So you are able to capture all your steps in literally one set. With an AI-based tool, you can define something once and you lock it in some kind of like a small template, and that template can be used across all the tests that you have, all your tests. It also helps you manage and understand the full API inventory that you have, and user can benefit by adding machine learning to automate API test creation by consistency and coverage to the effort. So there's a lot. Test API is, it's not something that everybody does, but if you find yourself in a situation where you're doing a lot of API testing, this is a great way to also leverage, an AI-based tool. And the last one is my most favorite one, self-healing of automate tests. There's really a need of system to detect a break and fix automatically without human intervention. So this is the part where really you get the benefits of AI. So automate tests require a lot of maintenance, when you have an application that keeps changing frequently. So self-healing or auto-healing, as we call it, is used to help you adapt to any minor change so the tests keep working. So every time the test is run, it interacts with an element. It collects all the element attribute that is used to make sure that when you find an element next time, it track it and make the change over time. This test could track many attributes such as CSS class, data, and other information like location, size on the page. Any test step that interact with an element on the page will be auto-heal. So basically, self-healing or auto-healing is really helping you maintain your test suite and trying to weed out really error. It's like fast error detection, as I was mentioning earlier. So these are like three important, at least in my opinion, benefit that you're getting right off the gate. And with these, there's so many advantage and so many return on investment that your team will enjoy. So now let's talk about case study. And I have at least 2 or 3 case studies that I can share, but this one is one that I'm really excited about, because I know that this team, they really value and enjoy this experience of using an AI-based tool. So an application had over 1,000 test cases, and 1,000 test cases is a lot of test cases if you have you are a QA. So this is a huge application, and regression test case took on average, and when I mean on average, it's over the time when the tester is really high performing and they really literally know the application in and out, really end-to-end testing, took them about 2 to 3 days for manual execution. So picture a developer send something over to QA and it takes them 2 to 3 days for manual execution. So what happened was, so a manual QA decided to start leveraging an AI-based tool, and the keyword here is manual QA. So this is somebody that have no experience in coding, no coding experience, and never used this tool. So it took them 3 to 4 weeks from training into getting introduced to the tool to implementing the tool with prior coding experience, as I mentioned. So it took them 3 to 4 weeks to automate all these 1,000 test cases. So this is really investment in time, right, to be able to automate all these 1,000 regression test cases. And then, as a result, the automation test execution took 30 minutes to successfully run. So as you can see, you're going from 2 to 3 days manual execution to now just 30 minutes automated test execution. So this is like a huge win. This is literally like a 3 days saving. And what that does to the team is it allows them for fast feedback. So now, instead of them releasing something, it's only 3 days later that they have a clear understanding of what's the value that the code is doing or what's the code is breaking. They're getting those fast feedback 30 minutes later. So you get fast feedback from the user, because the sooner you deliver to the user, they'll give you feedback on it, but you also have fast delivery. So this case study, I really like to share this because I feel like it shows an entire end-to-end experience on how you can leverage an AI-based tool to help you really quickly gain a fast execution and really have efficiency in your automation execution. All right, so now let's talk about how you can leverage AI tools in your CICD. Intelligent testing is definitely, it's a way, and one of the things that I love to talk about is really using solid tool with smart team, because you can have any tool, but if your team, the tools allow your team to become even smarter, and then with intelligent testing, you are no longer just spending time doing redundant, unnecessary tasks as a tester, but you are really focusing your time in really being a smart tester, because the tool is allowing you to really focus and deliver the best of what you are good at. Another thing that AI tool allow is error detection in each environment. So what that means is you are able to find, and you all, if you have been a tester at any given moment, you know that the most frustrating thing for you is that a developer drops something in his personal environment, in the dev environment, and he doesn't find any issue, and you start testing in your QA environment, and then you find an issue, and then you spend time between you, the QA, between the developer or ops, or even a DevOps person, trying to figure out what is that error. So with an AI-based tool, you are easily able to run the same code consistently across all your environment, and quickly and fast detect the error in each of the environments. So let's say it's a smoke test that you are running. You are able to run that smoke test in dev environment, find that there's no issue, run it in QA environment. If there's any issue, then you solve them. If there's no issue, you are able to continue throughout the CI/CD pipeline. And in terms of environment, it could be a number of things. It could be your dev, your QA, your staging, your pre-prod, your demo, and your production environment. So there's a clear consistency, and less human interaction and less error and fast error detection from one environment to the other. All right. So now let's talk about the ROI for your team, because this is the part that I'm super excited about, is the fact that, when you're leveraging an AI tool, there's a different feeling and a different return on investment. There's total return on investment for the team, but your team is changing in a different way, because it allows your team to embrace lifelong learning mindset. Because seriously, most AI tools are very modern tools. These are not tools that are 10 or 15 years ago tools. These are like fresh out of the gate tools that are still being developed, still being updated, and are really modern tools. So if you have a QA engineer that have like 50 or 20 year experience and they don't embrace life learning mindset, it's going to be very difficult for them to even embrace such tool, because they still want to use tool in the last decade. So it's important that your team need to really embrace life learning to lifelong learning mindset. The return on investment on time spent on test execution. So as a team, as a team, it's important that you collectively decide that, you have to stop at least a little bit what you're doing and invest that time to build that regression suite. And that's a collective decision that the team need to make. It's also return on investment is fast time to market, right? So you are easily able to quickly crank out a new change, get a test quickly, and make it go through all the environment that you have, and release this quickly in production. And obviously, you have high quality software, because now, like we mentioned, with intelligent testing, you're about to really focus on all the other area of testing that are out there. You're gonna have your smoke testing done. You're gonna have automation. You can even spend time and do load testing, performance testing, UAT. So you definitely have a lot more time, because you went from 2 to 3 days to now 30 minutes to give a fast response. You can really have time to focus on other kind of testing, and hence it gives you high quality software. You also have a fast feedback loop, like you mentioned, to the customer, right? Because as soon as you spend that 30 minutes to find what is the issue, the customer, you can show it to the customer, and they quickly can give you a response back. You also have a fast response to issue, because now it's not taking you 3 days to find an issue, but you find an issue right away, and you can send it to your developer, and they will have a quick response to it. There's also cross-functional team involvement. This is my favorite. The reason why is because QA has always been like a bottleneck and a one-man show kind of thing. But now with such tool, you are able to take part of your test and give it to your developer to run in the dev environment, give it to your ops guys to run in other environments. So everybody is sharing the effort of testing. And definitely QA become a fun activity, and we're no longer a bottleneck, because we are cranking, we are fast now testing. And it does increase your team happiness, believe it or not, because when you're getting your results faster, you know what's going on, and you know how you can quickly react to issue, increase your team happiness, and give you better team engagement, and you have better team collaboration. And these, in my mind, are all win-win-win. These are like things that you strive for in any environment with any tools, but even better, if AI-based tool can allow for that. So I'm going to stop here and see if you guys have any questions before. This is almost like a recap. So I think I've been talking for a good 30 minutes now. So any question for me? If I can see the chat.
Hey, Lisette.
Yeah, hi, Linda.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Good. Great presentation. Listen, I like the fact that you talk about your team becoming a cross-functional team for testing, where everybody can, that way you don't get bottleneck and you leave everything and you pour to that poor tester at the end before the sprint and you're dumping all this on them. How do you get your team as a cross-functional testing team? I mean, do you start them out as soon as you start a sprint and say, we're all going to kind of do testing together, or does it automatically revolve on its own? How do you get the team? Because there's going to be some people say, I'm not a tester, that's not my job, but it's everybody's job to be a tester. Yes. In my eyes.
Yes. That's a good question. That's a total good question. And it's because we are thinking in an agile team mindset, right? So in an agile team mindset, our goal is really to deliver value. So in order to deliver value, testing is also a value-driven effort. So what I usually go and do if I have a tool like this is you create some test cases that are valuable for the developer, right? So you sit down with the developer and you understand what kind of test case would you need, maybe smoke test, maybe unit test that you can leverage that will help you. And the value for them in that is there's less friction, there's less back and forth, right? So I give you the test case, you run in your environment. If everything looks green to you, then you send it to QA. And you actually, and I've actually done that, you determine a stopgap and a gate between QA, developer and QA, and only after you run those tests, then you can send stuff to us. and so that also help reduce the time that QA is spending in testing, because if I have to be the only one always testing, then we're going to be here for a long time. We are not going to be able to deliver that value, because it doesn't matter how much developer crank out as far as like user story and develop, the value is really on the other side here. So you might as well just, jump on board. So that's how I usually approach it from that perspective, because I mean, I'm literally like the gatekeeper here. That's the mindset that I have, right? So let's work together so we can get as many user story out of the door. And the little part you have to do is just to make sure that your code is clean, and I'm providing you a set of test cases, a tools within where you can run those test cases and before you send it to me. So that's how I usually approach it.
Yeah, I like that approach, because I think it's important that everybody get on board testing. I don't know where it was always defined that we have to have testers and they're all responsible. It's everybody's job. Okay, thank you for that feedback. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on what you say, I think it came from the waterfall mentality, right? And even though we all claiming that we're doing agile, everybody's still tied up to their role. Like my role is this, my role is this. While that's why at some point I say you want to shift left testing, right? So even for QA folks too, it's also important to change the mindset a little bit and think about this whole idea that I just mentioned of you create the test case and you give it to the developer. That also is a brain thinking idea, right? That's not something that even QA will do before. So it's like you give and get. Developer give a little bit, and QA also bend a little bit on the side too. But that's a good question, Linda. Thank you.
I agree. Yeah, good deal. Thanks.
Any other question? I'm getting people text me saying they can't get in the meeting, but you guys are here, so any other question? All right, so okay, somebody just joined. Super late, but anyway, the great thing is I recorded the meeting, and I'll be sending it out to folks that either join late or folks that are not able to join for whatever reason. But just in recap, you got to start first of all by, this is how I always see it. I see it as, again, people, process, and product. So the people are the folks that really power the process, and the process is what really power the product. So when you think of it with that mindset, you got to start training your QA team about the automation tool that you're going to use, and you have to make sure that you embrace the benefits, because so many times I hear teams saying, Lizette, I want to use an AI-based tool. I want to use an automation tool. I want an automation tool that gives me all the bells and whistles. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. But what do you really need from that tool? Do you even know what you want? Because that's why the strategy that I mentioned at the beginning, it's super important. And I'll definitely drive you guys to go to my blog site and look at those 3 articles that I wrote about automation strategy, because that's where I see a lot of lack, because people, teams usually, they want to jump into automation, and 9 out of 10, it's a total failure. It doesn't work right off the gate, and everybody gets discouraged, and then they're like, oh, this whole automation thing is just a hoax, it's not working for me. So embrace the benefits of AI-based tool. It's super important. Do the research, just like I mentioned, the 3-1 that we talk about, visual testing, test API. If API testing is something that your team do a lot, those tools will definitely help. And the last one, my favorite one, is the auto healing one. But embrace those benefits so that you can determine for your organization, what is going to be really the most valuable one. And the benefits is really, it's giving you high quality software, and that's really the goal at the end of the day for all of us in QA, whatever we can do to get high quality. But don't rely on the tools. You got to have a strategy for your folks. You got to have a strategy around your process, That way you can leverage the tool, because as you can see, I didn't talk about any tool today. I'm really tool agnostic. I like to really focus in on what are you trying to get to before you can even have the tool conversation. Because I think tool conversation is like dating. You got to find, what do you really want and what are you trying to get to, and then training your folks with the tools, and nurturing your team, because I feel like training is like nurturing in a relationship. So that's how you get to high quality software. It's a combination of all that. And the return on investment for your team is really happiness. I mean, we don't talk a lot about happiness in a team environment or work environment, but that's something that I'm really it's really super important for me, because as a team, you spend a lot of time, doing a lot of hard work, delivering important, complex code. But if you can find tools and process that make your team work smarter, better, faster, and make them happy, who would want that, really? Who would not want that? So that's how I want to end the webinar today. So what question do you guys have? I know I asked a couple of, some of you asked questions, but I'm trying to see who else joined. If you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them. And this is my blog post, C-Square Solution Inc. blog, but I definitely have a couple of articles there, especially on the queue automation strategy I was mentioning about, because that's what defines the tools that you will use. And AI-based tool is not for everybody, but I've been using it and I've been really enjoying it. And I think there's a lot of value to it, into all this headache that it's bottleneck that QA has been. It really have been helpful. So let me stop here and see if anybody have questions. You can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, hi, Elizabeth. This is CB. I'm sorry, I just got here, so I just hear the end of it. But enough to hear you say you have this recorded, and I really look forward to go through it and take a look at what was said. I think I mixed up the time.
All right, yeah. So I have, I'm recording it right now. So I'll send the recording out to all the folks that registered to the meeting, because I don't think everybody joined, but things happen and it's lunchtime. So I really appreciate you guys that gave opportunity to join. Thank you for joining today. Like I told you, it was not going to be a full hour. So any other questions before we close out today? All right. Any other questions?
This has been great. I think we're gonna, AI is so popular and so many projects are included with the artificial intelligence. So I think you having this webinar is perfect timing. So thank you for having it today and sharing your knowledge with us. Greatly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Linda, for joining. And it's super, it's like you say, it's a really important topic, and the reason why I was doing the webinar today is really because I'm going to have this presentation, at least a version of this presentation, in 2 conferences that I'm presenting this fall. So I think it's called Pacific North Software Quality Conference, and also the DevOps East Conference. Sadly, because of COVID, all these conferences are now virtual, so it's going to be something like this. So this was an opportunity for me. So I would love to hear your feedback, really, for me to improve on this presentation and make it better for the team. I think I have a comment. Let me see, chat. DevOps conference. Oh, yeah. Okay. Are you going to be there at the DevOps conference, DevOps East conference? I'm so sad that I won't be able to go in person, but anyway, I'll just take the virtual. So yeah, so DevOps conference, the PNSQ, that's a software quality conference. Those are all in the fall, October and November. So I'm super excited. It's a variation of this, so we'll see how it takes. So if you guys have any feedback for me after you listen to recording, please send them to me on social media or send me an email, info@C-Square Solution Inc. I would love to hear your feedback to make this the best. I have no idea why my voice is cracking. All right. Thank you, everyone. It was great to see you all, at least in this virtual webinar, and thank you for joining. I see other folks. I'll stick around for another 2 to 3 minutes if you have any questions before we check out today. No questions? Comments?
I actually
go ahead, Julia.
So
yeah.
I just want to I just want to first say that this was incredibly interesting, and I loved hearing about this because I'm a new, quote unquote QA tester for you, and I just wanted some clarification. I guess I know you were talking about how sometimes companies that actually want to use AI for testing, it doesn't work. So how you said that you'd kind of decide based on how clear their vision is. If you could clarify that a little bit more for me.
That's a good question. So, so what usually happen is folks just they hear, at a conference or webinar like this that, oh, there's AI-based tool out there, and they just pick a tool randomly without even giving a clear thought, and so these are the what do you call it, the miss pattern, the bad pattern. Pick a tool without even giving a thought, no automation strategy, no training for the team, right? In the same time, the same team member, they're not stopping their day job, right? And Julia, you have been testing a lot this summer, so you see how time intensive that is, So imagine that you're spending all your cycle just testing, doing your manual testing as you've been doing, and somebody sends you a tool, you don't get any training, there's no strategy behind why we're using this training, and they just put you in front of the tools. It's doomed for failure. That's just, it's not, and usually it's not about the tools, because that's what I hear is that, oh, we tried this tool, it's not working. We tried this other tool, is not working. As you can see, I've used a lot of tools, and I'm really not trying to give those tool vendor any business, but for me, it's not about the tool. It's really about the strategy that you have behind the tool, the vision for your automation, and the training that you provide in your team. Because you can get all these great shining tools that have all this bell and whistle, but if you don't know how to leverage it, that's what the word leverage is throughout the presentation. If you don't know how to leverage the tool, it's really not providing any value. And folks try that for like 6 months, 9 months, being really a bottleneck and super busy in their software testing. And after 6 months, you hear that, oh, this tool is not working for me, And when you start unpacking and try to really understand, what are the cause of this is usually like there was no strategy to start out, there's no vision, there's really no training provided or support provided, or even as Linda was asking earlier, there was no collective decision from the whole organization point. It's like it's just I've had folks just tell me, oh, as a QA team, we wanted tools and we don't really care what other folks are doing in the organization. And I usually stop and say, no, your tools need to, and there's a new word that I just love talking about. I call it inclusive testing, So inclusive testing is really, you got to bring everybody into the testing, in the testing family, in the testing umbrella, in the testing tools, So you can't just find a tool that is only going to be usable for QA team. It has to be for everybody. I want a tool where my developer can easily run it. I want a tool where my business analyst can even run it for a quick demo for the user. I want a tool where my ops guy can just run it in production really quickly and find if there's any issues. So inclusive testing is really, I need to write a blog article about that actually. It really helps everybody to be included in this testing activity and testing effort. So it takes the bottleneck off of QA per se and make everybody responsible of driving the quality of the application. I don't know if it answered your question, Julia, but that's the idea behind it.
Yeah, that really did. Thank you for explaining. It seems like, being inclusive with everyone on the team, planning, you very much have to plan. And you have to have a clear, but that makes complete sense because I could see where, again, me having, minimal QA testing experience, but I can see just from that where planning and having everybody know what's going on is really important if you're going to take on AI for testing. So thank you for explaining. That's really interesting for me.
Cool.
Yeah, Lizette, if you want, I can piggyback on that. So you said two things that are very true. You talk about inclusive testing and on the tool. So I spent the past decade consulting with companies and introducing automation at companies, starting the automation framework and testing
Right.
practice, get that rolling and moving on. So when you talk about inclusive, I kind of start smiling because it's very true, right? I've seen a lot of people coming in at companies and bringing a tool and plugging the tool in the QA environment. And this is what we're using. Good, it works for us, but it doesn't work for developers. And I always say, that's what I always do. If I go into the Java shop, for example, whatever tool I'm gonna bring in, recommend to the client, it will be a Java tool because the skill set on the development side is Java. And if we're gonna do automation and we need support from the dev, we need something that they understand. I'm not gonna bring a C# tool into a Java shop, and I'll do the same for C#. So your part inclusive is very true. Now the other part, the first part of the discussion about not only being about the tool, you can come in and drop a tool on the team and they're gonna use it. The problem with that is really, so when you buy a tool, when you bring in a new tool in an organization or within a team, I see it as a transformation, right? We're transforming, we're evolving, we're getting this new tool. But the transformation doesn't usually happen at the people level because we're talking about people processing tool, right? So we're getting a new tool. We might hit some of the process because of the new tool, but we are not hitting the people. So the people are not trained. And for experience, what I see, there is no training for the team. This is the tool that is here. Someone will show you how to use it, and then we start using it. There is no strategy around it. There is no transition. There is no, okay, the tool will help me do this fine, but from a roadmap standpoint, how the strategy fit with that tool, how that align with the organization goal, that is lacking all everywhere I go, it lacks. So just to give you the thumbs up on of bringing that up, that's so much true that I have to say something.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And I know you have been through that in different places, so you get your testimony is very valuable. And so for me, I feel like it's such a pain point that the pattern get repeated everywhere. And I think Paul has Paul. Do you have anything to say, or is your mic open? Okay, no. So the pattern has been everywhere. So I appreciate your feedback definitely. Any other question or comment before we sign out today? This has been great so far. All right. Okay, I'm not going to keep you guys too much. I know this is like weekdays and probably you have a meeting at 1 o'clock. So thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. And I will send the recording to all of you guys that have missed the beginning. And we'll make sure that you have it. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Have a good day.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah, bye.
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 Thank you, Lizette. Bye.
Bye.